What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Drop in your Grapevine Report for the week of September 16th. This is a new segment to the channel. Keith, MB, and I decided that once a week, we want to highlight an artist or a group that doesn't necessarily get talked about as much as they should, that doesn't get credit where credit is due. And in doing so, we hope that you're able to discover some new musicians, or if you're familiar with this week's subject, hopefully you can just share in my enthusiasm with them. Talking about a living legend this week, a man who, in the last 5 years since discovering him, has become one of my favorite bass players, and a guy who I think is arguably one of the best bass players of all time, and certainly the most prolific. If you're into jazz, can you guess who we're talking about? Pull that picture up right there. Mr. Ron Carter is the focus of our conversation this week. 85 years of age. The man, he's a legend. He's a master on that instrument. Piccolo bass is something that's really one of his highlights, but multi-instrumentalist, plays the cello, works on percussion. He's led for a number of albums, certainly with all those other recordings, has just lent his talents to other artists for their work. But the man is he's incredible to listen to on his bass, but also to listen to him talk. He's such an insightful man, such perspective. I mean, obviously at 85 years of age, he's got some experience under his belt, but it's just really cool to listen to him speak in interviews, to share his insight as far as, how he's gone about life, how he's balanced life with his artistic work, and especially since his artistic work is so prolific. This man he doesn't stop. I mean, 2,221 studio recordings to his name, and that's just on the bass. So I'm really excited to talk about this guy. If you're not familiar with him, I just recently got into jazz within, like the last 5 or 6 years, as I said. Nice lady named Nancy. I was involved with a vinyl club with her for a year, and once a month we'd meet up, and certainly a big jazz head. And this was one of the first people that she passed off a record to me. Pegleg actually is the name of the record that she gifted me. But I mentioned that I was a big fan of bass player myself. She was like, "You need to listen to this guy." And I'm glad that she mentioned him. Otherwise, I don't know if I would know who Ron is without Nancy. So it's those little connections like that. This full circle moment right here, being able to share this man's life and legacy with you is a really cool opportunity for me. And I'm really excited to be able to do that for all of you. Born in 1937 in Ferndale, Michigan, he began his career at 10 years of age, starting on the cello, but then switched to bass in high school. And pretty much right off the bat, Ron was performing, doing freelance work, started in 1959, working with names like Thelonious Monk, Cannonball Adderley, so really wasted no time. At that point, he's 22 years of age, that prolific already. I mean, it's incredible that the man had that much talent already at such a young age, but it's pretty common. We've seen the greats, and they generally start off pretty hot at that young age. And I love that Ron he's been able to keep that going now for 63 years. It's pretty remarkable. But recorded his first album as a lead, Where, in 1961, and then was a member of the second Miles Davis Quartet from 1963 to 68. Ended up leaving that outfit, and the rest is pretty much history. For pretty much 50 years, he has cranked out some of the best jazz that's out there, whether it's, jazz with a classic feel, whether it's avant-garde style jazz, rock fusion jazz. I know that there's a number of albums that he was a part of during that phase in the late 70s, early 80s, the jazz rock fusion, some good stuff there. I'm really a big fan of it. But it's just a pleasure to have this man's body of work. I don't know at this stage in the game if I'm ever going to be able to explore all of it. There's just so much material there. After 5 years, I try to. I actually weekly make an effort to try to sit down and just listen to a few compositions from Ron. Try to find as many albums as I can if they're available when I'm at the record store. But this is a guy who, especially if you're not into jazz, I would say listening to the work that he does, and that piccolo style bass especially that he's pretty well known for, it's really just brings the tuning up a little higher. It really allows the bass to stand out and carry the melodies in a composition. And being as special as he is, it's magical just to listen to him work on record. But I would say some highlights for him: that first record as a leader, Where, in 1961, Piccolo in 77 as well. He did an album, Third Plane, with Herbie Hancock and Tony Williams in 1977, and then that record Peg Leg in 1978. I'm not going to argue that it's necessarily one of his best records, but it was the first time I ever heard Ron. It's a very special record to me for that reason. So I got to say that, it's not a bad option to start off with if you're looking to get into Ron. But you talk about the man and his perspective, and I'll close it out. I came across this meme the other day and was looking for some inspiration as far as what I wanted to do for this segment. And I came across this, pulled this up, and there he is. Just I love that image. It's a great picture of him. The more you play, the more you can make mistakes and learn how to fix them. Those are some words to live by. And that's just not music. That's life in general. Get out there. Take chances. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to screw up, but that's how you learn. That's how you move forward and make your life better, improve your skill set. And I love that even after all of these years, this is still the thought process that this man rolls with. He's got decades of experience under his belt, and I would love to have a conversation with him, because I'd be willing to bet that he'd be first and foremost just very humble as far as his experience and what he does to wake up every day, to maintain that routine, to maintain that skill set. It's not something that you just, all of a sudden wake up one day and you're a master, or you work hard enough and you get there and it's like, oh, okay, I'm good. It's very much why I love this channel. For better or for worse, you have to show up every day and perform. And, some performances are better than others. I got to admit, in the last couple of weeks, I've been really exhausted, got a lot going on. I felt like maybe some segments struggled a little bit, but it's words of wisdom like this from a guy like Ron Carter to keep your head up, to keep that grind down. Because with the bad segments, there's going to be good segments. With the bad sessions, there's going to be good sessions. With whatever it is in life that is, not happening, I guarantee if you just take some time, figure out, why things didn't necessarily happen, if it's within your control, that the next time you approach that, you're going to be so much better off. And it's words of wisdom like this to live by. Ron Carter, it's more than just the music, even though the music is so special. This is a man whose attitude and whose drive and whose legacy still to this day is inspiring, and who's admired by so many musicians out there. So I'm really happy to be able to share some stuff with all of you about Ron Carter. I hope you're able to take some time and to check him out, especially those albums that I highlighted for you. I think you'll really dig those records. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Stay tuned throughout the rest of this week for more album reviews. Lots of stuff that we're going to keep talking about, kind of a rollover from last week. It was a pretty insane amount of material that dropped. So if all of you have had a chance to listen to any and all of that, I hope you've been enjoying it. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.